Vámonos. All right. Okay. All right, everyone. We're live with Sebastion from Arqlite. And he's come on to chat with us about his innovative new product. So, if you guys have any questions, ask away. And yeah, we'll just go ahead and introduce yourself, Sebastion, and then give us a rundown on what brought you to this innovation you've got.
Okay, well, hi everybody. So I'm Sebastian, I'm Argentinian, and I started working on, let's say, tackling the problem of plastics like 10 years ago. So, and I would say what brought me to this, it's awareness. I studied environmental consultancy, so I was in contact with all this problematic in every different city and with every big company around the world. And as I've always been an entrepreneur, I put together a team of engineers and worked on a out of the box solution, I would say, because the main characteristics of what we do is that we take all the unrecyclable plastic. So that's kind of, it has been a challenge and it has been really fun.
And well, so when you mean unrecyclable plastic, is that plastic that maybe had that can't be cleaned enough to be reused and possibly contaminated for food use, or what do you talk about there?
So that's let's say plastic 101 is that if you've seen ever that small number within the recycling symbol that you see on the bottles, which is number one, on the shampoo bottle, which is number two, and so on. Well, those numbers, they can never mix
Mm.
for recycling. So you can only recycle number ones with number ones, two with twos, and so on. So we have two type of unrecyclable plastics. One, when these plastics are mixed together, unrecyclable. We take mixed plastics. When does this happen? Let's say you have a recycling facility that separates the good plastics, right? So they have machines and they have people separating by hand both things. At the end of the day, they have some percentage of all that material that couldn't be separated because of the, because of how the process is, and that is mixed plastics, and that goes to a landfill. And so now we are a new player between the traditional recycler and the landfill, because that reject or that refuse, it's our raw material.
Mm. Mm. And how many? I guess you'd call it landfills and um, waste corporations are you working with so far to bring in the raw materials?
Well, here in the US, we're pretty new. We started operations in March of this year. So we have 4 companies working with us, packaging manufacturers that have scrap from their production. So one of the strengths that we have is these mixed plastics that I was telling you about. And the other one is plastic that was born unrecyclable. And for that, you have all the flexible packaging, let's say your potato chips, your Oreo cookies, those kind of things that has 2 different layers of plastics that are layered or stuck together
Mm-hmm.
to give the product more, shelf time. And so all that packaging, I would say almost 80% of all the flexible packaging that we use and recycle and discard every day cannot be recycled because it's a multi-layered. So that we also take. So we work with these companies producing that packaging, and we work with companies like TerraCycle sending us the complex plastics, or other MRFs from the so-called area where we are located, and we work with them. So four big ones so far, and we have some small projects like coffee stores, some small local shops that want to become more sustainable. They just call us, and we have like small projects all around.
Mm.
Can these companies that work with you, do they actually Do they get compensated for the plastic that they provide you, or are they just looking to find a place for this plastic to go other than the landfill?
That's a great question, and that's why everybody hates us, and it's because we actually charge for processing those plastics. So we get paid for raw material, but
Mhm.
that's not because we are so greedy, but because the process itself is very complex, and because we need to get to a certain scale and volume to make it more, efficient, and then we won't be needing to charge for it. But the good thing is that the good thing, all this contamination is not only generating an environmental impact, but it's also an economic impact or cost for these companies that have to pay to get rid of the plastics. So they're already paying for an unsustainable destination, and we are now a sustainable option at a lower cost.
Mm. How heavy is your aggregate you're making?
So this aggregate
Like
is
that
our
bag you held up. How heavy is that bag you held up?
this is a pound, and it's just for you to have an idea. The cubic yard weighs 800 pounds, and mineral gravel, a cubic yard would be 2,000 to 2,400 pounds.
Wow.
So we are 3 times lighter than mineral gravel.
Mm-hmm. So it does affect what uses you can use it for. So like you wouldn't want to replace, say, open ground gravel with it because it'll wash away easy. But for drainage, like an underlayer of drainage, if you're putting in potting plants, things like that, it'd be perfect for that. And it'd make it so,
Landscaping.
yeah,
Lots of landscaping, like visual appeal.
you could lift up your pots then, and I don't know, it's outstanding. How big?
Exactly. Yeah, it's no.
How
I was just gonna say that French drain, which is a typical application for houses, especially in cities where there's rains a lot, and now with all these water recovery systems where you want to capture the rainwater, this product is inert. It doesn't interact with water, so it's safe for water and vegetation. And the good thing is it's as easy as going to Home Depot or your hardware store and grabbing a bag without any effort, getting home with your bag safe, and cutting installation times in half, not only for people at home, but also for, as you were saying, landscapers and more like civil engineering projects.
Can we get this product at Home Depot yet, or is that a future possibility?
We are at Home Depot online so far.
Yeah,
So you
I
can buy it
looked it up.
online. You get it. Yeah, you can buy it at Home Depot, Amazon, Walmart, everything online. And then we have smaller stores that we run through distributors for like brick and mortar stores.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
So the plastic that comes into your shop, it has to be cleaned, correct? So I know I throw a lot of plastic in the recyclable container, but I think to myself, if my wife forgot to wash it out or something like that, it's got to be really dirty for the processing employees to handle. So can you explain how the cleaning process would work when you receive a load of plastic?
Well, we have a pretty unique system because it's a waterless system. It's a system that works with friction. So we grind the material into smaller flakes, and then we have a process that, as I was telling you, is waterless, and it removes all the organic and all the dust that may come from the bales. We don't get let's say, a bag of plastic, but we get big bales, like 3,000-pound bales. So we grind that, and that has a lot of dust because it has been sitting outdoors. And this process removes all that, and then it goes into a heating process. And this heat eliminates all the bacteria and anything that could be remaining on the plastics. And so that's what allows us to make clean plastics from companies, and also post-consumer waste with a little bit, things at the bottom of the jar and those kind of things.
Mm.
So do you need to use electricity or gas to clean it? There has to be some sort of a method to energize the heating process. Which method do you guys go with?
Yeah, the process is all with electricity.
Mm-hmm.
So we run different equipments that part of them are standard, like let's say a big huge grinder that you can just go out there and buy, and then we have our proprietary equipment. It's all plugged to the grid, and and yeah, and also because again we are not using any water, we don't discard any water, we don't contaminate any water, and the water that we use for cooling the systems, it's on a closed loop, so it always stays within the building, let's say.
Mm. How here's my question. So if this takes off, how large and complicated is it? Is this something you could set up regionally or in every state, somewhere where we could start reusing this plastic in a more, well, one, permanent fashion? Using it for drainage is a lot more permanent than using it to carry your milk around in, So is this something that you can foresee spreading across the nation, replacing a little bit of, say, the extra large gravel size and things like that, and making a large impact?
Well, we're now focusing on this facility here in Santa Ana in Orange County, and we are still finishing the final details, increasing taking the performance to the maximum level. And for next year, the plan is to be able to license the operation, so both the machinery and the process and the technology to other big players. Because for a startup like we are, growing and escalating by investing in new machine every day on every new installation, it's kind of hard. While we already have a waste management company interested, we have concrete companies interested, that they have their backyard with a lot of space. They already have the power, and they only need we are having here like a 20,000 square feet for operations, so it's not that big. It's designed to be close to the urban areas, and it's kind of very let's say we're trying to make it a turnkey solution where we can focus on the agreements for the operators to secure the feedstock, and also kind of give them access to the markets that we're already building. So they would only need to be adding value to all this trash.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think that's great. That would be way awesome if I guess it'd be like McDonald's franchises. If franchises popped up wherever they feel they could need one, and then how the different franchises manages collecting the raw materials would be up to them. But they could do, I mean, you could have it to where you sign up for a service and they drop off a garbage can at your house. They can sign up with the businesses. I know my day job, we call it shrink out there, but it's like you say, big bales of plastic. That's just a trim off of all the bags, a little bit of trim, but it builds up. You got to empty it every couple of months. And then that right now, we send it off to a recycling plant that breaks it down and does something else with it. But I like the idea of a more permanent use for the plastic.
When you're creating this the product from the multiple different types of plastic, now do you separate the types of plastic at your shop at all, or is each pebble like a combination of all the plastics, or is like each color a different type of the plastics? Like how does that separation work?
Well, we go the other way, like totally opposite to the industry. The industry the first thing they will do is separate the plastics, right? Mm-hmm. What we do is if we get a kind of too pure stream, we contaminate it with more plastic. So what we do here to process is see and evaluate if the plastics are mixed enough for us to process, and that's why we work with different companies that they are sending different types. So we make like our recipe, and you will see it on different colors. Actually, if you go and buy one, you'll see it one day maybe a little bit bluish or grayish or green, and that's because we don't add any chemicals to it, and that's the color coming out from the labels, because this is all, I would say 90 something percent is food grade packaging that we're using. So it comes with, you know, the labels and colors, and that's why it gives the different finish to it.
Mm. I love the idea of a permanent use, you know.
Right? Can you use the pebbles and make other products out of them? Maybe like those parking lot stops, or just
Oh, you mean like those little mini Jersey barriers, the little tiny ones?
yeah, it can be used. Those plastic pellets you create can actually be used for other products, possibly.
He says they mix it in with concrete, and it makes the concrete lighter, so it makes a lot of little light voids in there. So I'll bet that'd reduce, like say on those little Jersey barriers or whatever you call them, that'd probably reduce the weight of them by what, 20%? You know.
Yeah, you get that type of weight reduction, which turns out being savings on transportation and, you know, on handling and installation times. And yeah, definitely two things. One, I like that concept of, you know, making a long-lasting plastic product, because plastic is being designed, since every product, since it's designed, has a very short life cycle, right? So what do you have? Like even your phone, you could keep it like, I don't know, 2-3 years. Let's say a plastic chair for your, you know, your backyard, it will last 5-6 years, you know, and that's kind of long lasting for plastic. And we make this product and it will last 50 or 100 years. So it's kind of a record for a plastic product. And going to that question, we are now exploring with other plastic manufacturers for them to use this as raw material for other type of, you know, shapes or types of materials or products. And I would say we started making gravel just because my experience with startups working on solving the problem of plastics is that usually the market turns out to be the bottleneck for their technology, right? It's like they do countertops, or they do, you know, small blocks for this or that. And how many countertops you have to sell to solve the problem of plastic, right? Millions. So the good thing about this gravel that we're making is that it's a commodity and we sell it by the truckload, right? So we sell full pallets, truckloads. We do sell small bags that you can buy, and you can make your small part by buying one of these bags instead of regular or dump gravel, as we call it. But that's why we started making gravel instead of making maybe, you know, other kind of things that were more niche. But definitely something we're exploring now.
Well, and gravel's quick and easy. You don't have to get complicated and hope you sell something complicated. You've made a basic model that you can throw on the market and build from there. And it can be added into stuff. You can add it into concrete use, or, you know, I mean, I guess the end use customer can decide what they can add it into, but there's a lot of use. I like the idea, and I like the idea of, we've got plenty of plastic already, for lack of a better word, contaminating the earth. And it's nice to pull in some of that contaminating plastic and put it to uses with a purpose.
Yeah, and we learn a lot. I would say our biggest learning is from our customers. You know, it's like when we started this, it was oriented 100% for concrete. So we were thinking, okay, lighter concrete, you know, green buildings, LEED certification. That's the industry's going that way. Slowly, but it's going that way. But then one of the partners I had said, like, well, you know, I used to do green rooftops. This was like 10-15 years ago when green rooftops was kind of something new. And he said, it would be great for drainage, for landscaping. Okay, let's call a landscaper. And like 4 or 5 years ago, a guy came and said, do you know if I can use it for hydroponic as a growth medium? And we said, we have no idea what hydroponic is. And we can only tell you that it's safe. We have leaching tests, and we do test it constantly for, you know, for it to be safe. And now one of our biggest markets is the hydroponic market because we compete against expanded clay, which are all these small pebbles of light aggregate that has to be washed 2 hours before the first application, while ours is ready to use out of the box. So, and these are things that people come and tell me, you saved me hours of time. And okay, great. We're happy to know there's a new application out there, and it turned out to be one of our biggest markets.
And also with that hydroponics, the weight where structure has to be built to handle clay or gravel or larger rock, you can reduce the overall size of that structure, the durability of that structure, so it can handle this plastic. So,
Especially roofs. I mean, like roofs are load-bearing structures, and the more gravel you put on a roof, the less capacity you have to play with other stuff. So yeah. So why California? Yeah. Why California to start this business?
Well, besides the weather, I would say. So I'm from Argentina, and we have. I was hoping to come to a city that could have, I would say, I don't want to say more awareness, but better conditions for green business than the one we have or the one we're bringing. Argentina is it's very difficult to grow a business there if you're a small company. It's kind of, you have to be very resilient. And I thought, okay, where in the US I can find more incentives for a green company, and that's how we ended up here. My first contact with the US was like 15 years ago when I went through an acceleration process in Seattle. So the West Coast was where I started building my bridges and my connections. So it was a mix of that small network that I had, plus the local awareness and also the willingness for, looking for new and more sustainable products as well. It was a combination of that. And the weather.
And the weather.
Man, it's hard to try to make an argument for Utah, but I wish I could.
Well, yeah. And he's starting a green business, so California probably treats him pretty gentle. California is a notoriously, as of late, hard market to start a business in. But if you say green, it gets a little gentler. Because the Democratic People's Republic of California, they like the green.
At least that's the claim, right? Then when you're here, when you're on the game, it's not as easy as we thought it was. But it's, again, I'm already very resilient after my experience in Buenos Aires. So this is a piece of cake.
All right, I'm gonna kind of flash your website up on the screen right now.
It is a cool website. Whoever designed it did a great job.
Oh yeah. Okay, we'll just go ahead and make this website big. And it's showing kind of an aggregate and a shaker, kind of a little video off the start.
What is this machine called here, Sebastion? That shaky machine.
We should name the machines. It's a tradition for manufacturing to have a name for each machine. But that's basically a screener. So what we do with that is we separate the gravel into different sizes, and that's because the process, because we have a very variable feedstock, it's very difficult to produce a very uniform material, right? A uniform product on the other end. So what we decided to do is go the other way. Okay, let's produce everything and then let's separate it and make it more, size specific or shape specific depending on the market. So that shaking thing you see there, it's where we screen the gravel into smaller or bigger parts.
That's how gravel companies do it.
That's maybe, I don't know. I should have.
I've worked in that industry before, and that's exactly how they do it. Because the earth doesn't give you uniform rocks, so they have different. Like if you ever drive by Well, like if you drive by the the concrete company just down the road there, you'll notice they've got little chutes, little concrete chutes that have all different stuff in them. That's they've just separated it out. So they have maybe not some of them have a shaker, but most of the time they have a grizzly that has just rails and things that are certain size fall through, and that goes to there, and then they keep separating them out, and that's how you get your different sizes, your lime fines versus your your 1 inch and all that.
So what about the
Yeah.
international market? Is it friendly to the idea, or is this just something available in the United States right now?
So right now we have our pilot facility in Buenos Aires, which we turn into commercial just to test and yeah, test the waters and try to find the first partners. We are working with Unilever there and other big companies,
Mm-hmm.
and the facility here in Orange County is the first one with a let's say large scale. We are transforming 1 ton or 2,000 pounds of plastics per hour into this green material,
Hmm.
and we have plans to duplicate the production by next year. So we've been focusing on this. This was during COVID, so we started in March. You can imagine how the trip has been a little bit bumpy, and we are survivors to all these crises, and happy to be up and running. And so the plans for scaling were pushed to next year, and we do have a lot of interest in some countries in Europe where there's also more will for, I don't know if to tell you will or incentive to use greener materials.
Mm.
So it's all about, at the end of the day, it's all about the pocket, for decision making. So companies there see more incentives for it becoming greener.
Yeah, in Europe, from what I understand, in Germany, you people don't build with lumber anymore. It's almost exclusively concrete, which would be a great market to get into if you've got a filler to make a lighter concrete.
Yeah, and also there are new regulations in the European community as a whole for all the remodeling for all housing has to have a percentage of recycled materials.
Hmm.
So it's like everything is pushing that way, and that's helpful because if you're if it's compulsory, you will still need to go out there and find materials. And
Right.
besides the price, because one thing that we see in the US and in Argentina and everywhere is that the first question is it cheaper than gravel? Right? It's like, why would I buy it if it's gravel is dirt cheap, right? So, well, we do have all these benefits: like light, clean, long lasting, and of course greener. And it always takes more energy, time, and money to go for a greener product, even to manufacture it. Gravel is just the cost of putting it on a truck and grind it and separate it.
Mm-hmm.
So we do have a little bit more than that.
So I've already determined I'm gonna buy some of this material, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to use it for my turtle.
It's going to be your turtling material.
I'm gonna replace my turtle gravel with this material.
Hey.
See how it works out.
How small can you
Send us
make it?
pictures, please.
How small can you get it down?
So we have three sizes. The two standard sizes are they go from 1/8 of an inch to an inch,
Mm-hmm.
and we separate it in mini and regular. And then we have a micro mini version, which is just for concrete, which is like a millimeter. I don't know what that is in inches, but it's very small, and it's kind of looks like this.
So that right there could also be used on shingling. You know how they have a small gravel aggregate that's melted onto the shingle for durability and strength. That could be
Well,
replace
this one
that.
is mostly this one instead of replacing gravel like a coarse aggregate, it replaces fine aggregates like
Yeah,
sand.
that's what I'm saying.
So yeah.
Like the shingles on your roof, that'd lighten your roof again. And that's something the shingle is tar paper with tar laid on it, and then they lay
It's like a sand almost.
It's a coarse
Yeah.
sand. It's about that size. Average of probably a millimeter is probably the average, and that's something that could replace that, or even just be added into that to make it from each shingle weighing half a pound or a pound to each shingle weighing 3/4 of a pound to a quarter of a pound, just making it just a little bit lighter, which again saves in shipping. Because right now, if I was to shingle my roof, I would have to take my pickup truck down, and I'd have to make 2 trips to grab enough shingles to shingle my roof, because my truck can't handle the weight of all the shingles I'd need. But you lower that down, I mean, it just saves gas and everything else.
Yeah, and you don't need like the projects that we are working on with big companies like U.S. Concrete. We are not looking, or they are not looking to replace 100% of the aggregate, but if they only replace 3 to 5%, which is what we're working on right now, you still get a high strength concrete, and you're making a big change, because the amount of concrete that these companies pour every year. So 3%, they can have like 100 Arqlites producing just for that small percentage. So it's a little bit here and there that will make a difference, especially as I was saying before, we were discussing partnering, working with these big corporations, is how we scale up the impact.
Can you modularize the process so that maybe you could put it on a tractor trailer and actually bring the process to the landfills? Would that be a possibility?
That could be something, along the way. Ideally, if we want to reduce the size of the technology, so you can just bring it to a Coachella, or to where you have some specific, or even if you're a concrete company and you want to produce the aggregate on site, you can bring that with you instead of transporting. So there are some ideas there to explore in the future.
I like it. I like the idea of the franchise thing too, of selling the process out. And you guys, how many people at your warehouse, or your where you're located, how many people are you employing to do this?
So now we are 8 on one shift. Ideally, we want to add a second and a third shift to run it 24/7. But for now, it's 8 people working here, plus some people that we outsource. But still, it's kind of a small team for all we're doing, and we wear a lot of hats. So it's interesting.
What union do you have to fight your way through there in California?
Nah, well, I think we're staying small just to get to avoid the union.
Yeah,
smart move.
But we do have OSHA. We do have
yeah.
We all got OSHA.
Yeah. No, that's I like the idea of it. That's a good idea with a mobile thing.
Could you imagine if they could make 2x4s out of this thing?
I think eventually we're going to see recycled plastic replace a lot of our light structural recovery stuff. I think we're going to start seeing that.
Because the way 2x4s were priced this summer, probably would have been cheaper to make them out of Arqlite.
They've gone back down. Now they're taking the price out of my bacon, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, actually we do. I mean, once you kind of dominate this technology of processing mixed plastics, there are, the number is like 350 million tons of plastics discarded every year. If half of it is unrecyclable, there's 75 million tons. So plastics, there's plenty. We have the technology, and if we can have people bringing in new ideas, we love partnering and working, because our ultimate goal is to end with the concept of plastic being trash, right? It's one of the most recyclable materials. The issue is that we have to put it on the right bin, or we have to process it in the right way.
Yeah. I think here's looking further down the road. I hope we start or stop using plastic as much for, sodas and just the milks, I hope that if we're going to plastic package things, we're going to start, as a society, as a world, we're going to start using it more long term. Because I foresee down the road, no matter what you do, um, there's going to be a time where it ends up being garbage again. And unless you figure out how to repurpose it, and who knows where technology is going to take us, maybe 3D printers are going to be the rescue of us all. And then a company like yours takes this plastic and makes it into printer spools. And
But hopefully, all these technologies, there are plenty of new technologies for reconverting plastic back into oil or carbon.
mm-hmm.
They are still early stage, and it's very
way
expensive.
the
It's gonna
oil
take a
one,
while.
the oil and fuel one, I've looked into that a few times. That's way early stage. We're
Yeah,
talking that thing is still gestating. It is split into two cells just now. It's
it is.
interesting. I love the idea, but I do think as a society we need to restrain ourselves on our plastic use. And I'm not a tree hugger, but it's everywhere. It's as far as everything you touch has plastic in it, on it. Plastic brought it here, everything.
Just I can only imagine like what the little Chinese people in the factories think when they're packaging the Barbie dolls with like 10 layers of different packaging and plastics and zip ties and my gosh, I mean, yeah, when you think about it, yeah, we're crazy when it
Yeah,
comes to plastic.
a lot of plastic.
How did we ever get by without plastic? And where are we going to go with plastic in the future? I mean, it's all ending up in these landfills and there was once a point in history when if someone dug oil up in their property, it was considered bad luck. It ruined
Yeah,
their property.
yeah.
And then when the combustion engine happened and they needed oil, it was a blessing. So I'm,
Well,
I'm hoping maybe something like this can begin the process of looking at plastic waste as a blessing rather than a curse, and we can do something with this. We can reuse it. We can repurpose it, and I don't see why not. I mean, especially with all these wonderful entrepreneurial ideas that are coming out. God bless you, Sebastian. I think it's a great
yeah,
thing what you're doing.
yeah. It is. It is. It's a great thing. It's an interesting thing, and you're in the starting phases, so we might actually see you come out with different products in the end, or maybe you'll just become I don't know, the guy who started McDonald's and franchised them out, and then they do it from there. But you've come up with an innovation. It's usable. I dig it. I dig it a lot.
Well, we love the idea of mining the landfill instead of mining the environment, which is what happens with regular gravel. But still, with all these new alternatives out there, the ultimate responsibility it's in us as consumers. Every
Mm-hmm.
time we go and grab one of these products from the shelf, it says take 10 seconds to see what's behind that. And as you were saying, you don't need to be a tree hugger or go and buy loose stuff with your own glass things or your own bags, because maybe you don't have the time, maybe you don't have someone selling it close to your base. So it's still, we're still far away from there, and I don't know if that's going to be a solution when plastic is growing. I don't know the percentage, but we always have this discussion, or we have these questions about, well, there are a lot of bioplastics out there, and there are these worms eating the plastic. So what are you going to do with your business when these worms become the ultimate solution? No, that's wrong, because we have all these new plastics, but that's 0.001% compared to all the cities and the growing and requiring more plastics for everything they
Mm-hmm.
do, and the more and more people every day of the world, more possibility. Plastic is a product giving people the possibility to access to a lot of things that couldn't be accessed with other materials. So it's only growing. So definitely, if we are more and more every day, we have to be a little bit more cautious and connected to the issue. And I mean, I'm gonna give you just a very, very simple example. I separate at home, and I have my recycling bin, and then I have my Arqlite bin because I bring it here, right? So every time I put something on the Arqlite bin, I think, oh, how many of this is going still to a landfill, because I know we are the only ones processing that. Or when you have, those sprays, that the thing where you have like a cleaning products that you use to spray. And I still have to educate my mother, like, don't put the spray gun on the recycling bin, because that's metal and plastics mixed together, so that would jam any. So up to that small detail, then I always think, like, why isn't a brand coming up with a spray gun that it doesn't require a metal spring in it, because that would make the whole thing recyclable, right? So we are the ones that have to ask the brands, hey guys, I don't want to, I'm not going to buy any more from you if you don't take this additional effort and give me a sustainable packaging, right? So many things, and at the end of the day, it's on us. That's what I want to say.
Man.
So do you ever end up with metal in the Arqlite because of those combinations? And I guess, can you guys actually work with that? Is that a possibility, or does that kind of just ruin your entire batch if there's a spring inside of the plastic nozzle that you just
How do you
recycled?
guys screen the metal out?
Well, yeah, metal is kind of our biggest hurdle here, and we do have metal separators. So we have magnets, and we have something called eddy current that separates aluminum because it's not non-ferrous, so it doesn't get trapped by magnets. But still, sometimes it goes through. So like we have maintenance,
especially a little spring.
Yeah, the little springs.
Those aren't going to get grabbed by 80% of your magnets out there.
And I mean, again, it's 1 ton per hour. So if you see, if you go to, we have now a We Funder campaign going on, and we have a lot of videos there showing how the process works. The one here in the US. So it's a lot of plastics moving all together. So grabbing a little spring from there is difficult. But yeah, part of the process is how to made a machine that was a one-piece machine to dismantle, so we can clean it up every once and then, so we can still use these plastics and take the good thing, and well, the metals are separated at some point.
Well, let me ask you this: do people that are really into this environmental movement, do they ask to volunteer at your shop? Is it or take tours, or I guess, what's the response from the populace towards Arqlite's system? And yeah, do people want to contribute? Do people want to give their time and help you guys out on a voluntary effort?
Yeah, definitely. I think that working on a company or other company that creates this positive impact attracts a lot of great people. People that wants to work here, people that wants to contribute. And actually, today we had a guy who's an expert in hydroponics, and he heard about our product, and he was in the area, can I come and visit you? And we don't have the facility ready for tours or people, coming in every day, but we said, yeah, why not? It's Friday. We had an easy Friday today. And he stayed for 2 hours educating the team on how, for which type of hydroponics this gravel would be better, if it's seeds or bigger plants, or this system or this other system. And he said, guys, I'm a big fan, so I'm willing to do every experiment you want me to do. I will take pictures, send it over, educate you so you can educate your audience. And that's those kind of things we see a lot, and it's great. And yeah, and it helps a lot, because we, startups, we are always short of resources. So these little things make a lot for us.
That's great. Well, Sebastion, we've had you on here for almost an hour now. So it's been, but thank you very much for coming on. Dave's going to buy a bag of it and throw it in with his turtle, and we'll see.
We'll see how he likes it.
Yeah, see how
we'll do a turtle experiment.
And
keep me posted.
I will.
Yeah,
I will.
And you keep us posted on what you've got going on. If you've got something new branching out, or new uses popping up for it, just shoot us an email and let us know. We'd like to hear what's going on with this. And
if you can ever get out in here to Utah with one of these Arqlite companies, definitely, man. I want to know about it. This is, believe it or not, environmentalism is a pretty big deal out here in Utah.
it is.
People care. People care about this.
It is, and I like the idea of reusing the plastic. You know, hopefully, as a culture, we can get. Hopefully, something comes along that can replace plastic that makes it. You know, like the big one you see are your food packages for lunch, your milk and your water and everything else, and hopefully we can get to where those are replaced by something. Glass is obviously better, but it has its own downsides also. But I'm hoping that something comes along that can replace that. How do you deal with, just real quick before you go, how do you deal with that aluminum plastic mix that's like on those Capri Sun drinks?
Foil. So we also process that kind of aluminized plastic.
So do you separate it?
No, it goes all together, and we have filters that at the end of the process capture all these ground aluminum, and then we just remove the filters, replace them, and keep producing.
Are you able to sell are you able to sell the aluminum and get that back into?
No, we're not as efficient yet, but you may see on the gravel sometimes some blinks, and it's small, very small parts of aluminum that are part of the gravel now. So
that's fancy gravel, guaranteed. 20% fancy gravel in every bag. Yeah. All right, Sebastion, thank you very much. This is interesting technology, and we're excited to see where you go with it.
Yeah, thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Thanks to you, and had a great time. So I definitely keep you posted. We do have this distributor there in Utah, so next time I make sure I can go by and
we'll go have a beer.
Yeah, send me his name. I'll go buy my gravel from him.
Yeah. Definitely. Okay. All right, you have a good day, man.
Thanks.
Take care. Thanks.
Bye.